Alankrita, you are not audible, I think.
Okay, okay. All right.
Now,
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, good afternoon to one and all. And we are going to begin with the Education Summit 2024, the theme for which is Reimagining Education for the Future. This is a flagship event by Sarkari School and We Citizens Foundation, and this will be based on the futuristic demands of our education policy and system as we move on towards a more, I would say, modernized era of education. So meanwhile, I would just like to read out the welcome statement, which is: entering a new year demands a fresh vision and renewed thought about pertinent strategies in the realm of education. The attempt to arrive at an actionable roadmap leading up key aims enumerated in the National Education Policy of 2020, it demands that policy practitioners, youth actors, and other stakeholders like students, teachers, and parents think about the pressing need for inclusive and innovative approaches to education that run in tandem with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4, which is equitable education for all. To stimulate further discussion on the same, Sarkari School has organized this education summit, for which the core theme is Reimagining Education for the Future. The event features an acclaimed panel of educators, policy actors, and pioneering voices in the field of education. The event intends to initiate a productive dialogue about the need for a future focused curriculum, technology integration in education, the adoption of NEP 2020 in a modern classroom setting, and the shift towards a student centric mode of learning. It is expected that the event will result in the emergence of solutions and ideas about how India can achieve these aims by its centenary year of independence, that is 2047. Through the enthusiastic participation and interaction between the panelists and summit attendees, Sarkari School envisions that the summit will prove to be a dynamic platform for stakeholders to convene and spark conversations that contribute to reshaping the educational landscape in accordance with the needs of the future. So, I would just like to lay out some of the ground rules for this discussion, which is all participants except the speakers and the moderators will keep their mics and cameras off. Speakers have to switch on the cameras while speaking since this is being live streamed. And this is the norm for the further rounds of discussion as well. If there are any problems like erratic networks, you can just let us know, and we can conduct the discussion accordingly. The questions will be read out by the moderators. The basic expectation is to keep to the time limit, which is 5 minutes for the opening speech or the keynote speech. It can be overstepped slightly, like 30 seconds on and off, and but not too much. And the objective is to maintain a very healthy democratic vibe where the discussion space is open to entertain questions. And the fourth, which is like pretty much obvious, no expletives or insults will be entertained at any cost. And now that I have initiated the summit and laid out the summary objectives of the session, I would like to pass the moderation baton on to my co moderator Ayush, who will go on and explain about what Sarkari School does and what is the vision of the organization in line with the summit.
Good afternoon, one and all present here. We at Sarkari School have been working to destigmatize attitudes about public education in India, which has resulted in a significant development in the field of education. Among our initiatives is the creation of specific venues for honoring and showcasing the innovators in the field of education. The goal of the Education Summit 2024 is to start the year off with a thoughtful examination of the NEP 2020, assessing the several perspectives on various connected areas of it, encouraging discussion about what the future might hold for Indian education. I would like Alankrita to go forward with the uh, summit.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Ayush, for explaining the vision of the organization so well. And meanwhile, I'll be just introducing the panelists very briefly before we go in with the in-depth phases of the discussion, where we will be, knowing them or interacting with them in a more detailed manner. So we have with us Mr. Shadab Anis, who is a PhD graduate from the National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, New Delhi, and he has also been an alumnus of BHU Varanasi. Yeah, so the next panelist we have with us is Mr. Shakti Singh Chauhan, who is a seasoned policy advocate and interventionist with about 15 years of leadership experience in the school and higher education sector. He's also working with a lot of organizations current and is currently like really active in this space. He has been mentoring, supporting, and suggesting all the little and big initiatives that can be carried out in this sector. Then, thirdly, we have Miss Aishwarya Unnikrishnan, and she's a very committed feminist and she's a consultant on education reforms. I think that she is currently working as a consultant with the government of Delhi. Then we also have Aishwarya Sharma. I think that you're here. Hi, Aishwarya. And she is also a PhD scholar at NIEPA, and she holds an MPhil in education. And she has conducted a lot of intensive research work in the respect of, I think, shadow education. So next we have Mr. Srijit Mukherjee. He is an editor of bilingual dictionaries for Oxford University Press India, and he has significantly contributed to language scholarship in his own capacity. Then, lastly, we have Miss Khayali De. She is a very result oriented researcher, and she's on a mission to champion educational equity through inclusivity and institutional efficiency. So, welcome to all the panelists over here, and we are very glad to have you on this platform. We hope that we are able to, provide you this platform and open the stage for interacting with a huge audience, a diverse audience who would like to know what is going on in the policy sphere and what can we expect as the stakeholders of the educational policy and the environment in India. So I would now like to pass the baton to Ayush now. Yeah, so you can just introduce the keynote speech round now that we are going to begin with it. Please lay out the objectives of what we might expect, the core theme, and maybe the sub themes. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, Anakita. So the panelists are expected to reflect on the core theme, which is laid down by Alankrita, is reimagining education for the future. The vision we wish to carry forward is an aspiration and critical reflection on what the Indian educational landscape should look like by 2047, the centurion year of independence for India. Our focus is on practical solutions for an educated, skilled India, emphasizing actionable plans and roadmaps to underscore the transformative impact of diverse, equitable, and high quality education for empowered citizens. Collaborative governance in education is our next sub-theme, emphasizing the establishment of a secure and democratic collaborative space. This space involves the perspectives of expert policymakers, educators, and students, fostering meaningful discussions that translate into practical and forward-looking remedial strategies. Participants are encouraged to share their initiatives in creating such spaces, extending them to teachers and students to invest them with agency, ultimately contributing to the decentralization of education. Our attention now turns to curriculum innovation and diversification, where we'll also explore the relevance of Indianization in representing Indian globally. Within this subtheme, our focus is on practical strategies and interventions in pedagogy to make learning more engaging and innovative for students. Next, we address tech integration and inclusivity for the new generation of learners. Participants will explore technology's role in promoting inclusivity and its effective integration into learning environments. The discussion will cover aspects like using technology for disabled students, translation efforts, and creating curriculum materials in different Indian languages. Participants are encouraged to brainstorm measures for more student-friendly classrooms, enlisting their cooperation as active stakeholders. Strategies like flipped classrooms, project work assignments, and field interactions would be appreciated if explored to enhance student participations. Now over to Alankrita.
Thank you so much, Ayush, for making such a comprehensive note of all the sub themes which we are going to address in this conference. And now I would like to initiate the first phase of these discussions, which is the opening speeches of our esteemed speakers. Then I'm just going to introduce all the speakers in the order I had introduced them in before. So the first speaker we have with us is Mr. Shadab Anis. As I go on with his introduction in detail, I had already explained that he is a PhD graduate from the National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration in New Delhi, which is quite an accomplished research organization as well. And his academic roster also includes being a student of BHU Varanasi and the University of Delhi and a very esteemed varsity such as the Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi. His research interests focus on urban marginalization, social exclusion, and the education of disadvantaged children. Currently, he is serving as a research associate at CETE, TIS Mumbai. So, Mr. Shadab, I would like to invite you to make your keynote speech and familiarize the audience and other speakers with your views on the subject.
Thank you. Thank you for introducing me. Am I audible? Okay.
Yes, you are audible.
So,
We can hear you.
I have 5 minutes, right, to give the introductory remarks. So I will start. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity for the first time, and I have submitted my PhD recently, and for the first time I will be talking in a seminar like this. So currently, I will be more sharing my experiences doing the field work in Madhya Pradesh with the TIS Mumbai on technology integration and what I have observed. So it will be basically my experiences. So recently, we have visited in 3 months. For the past 3 months, we have visited 48 schools, government school, mostly middle schools or higher schools, where the government in collaboration with the NGOs have placed smart TVs, and the teachers are mostly taking classes doing using smart TVs of maths and science. Basically, even before the pandemic and during the pandemic, we have seen that how that the technology can be going to be a very key maker in the education policy planning and administration. And at the same point of time, there is a gap. We have also observed there is a massive digital gap, digital deficit that we have encountered in have and have not, basically the rich and the poor. So what is happening in these government school? The first is that when Ayush was making his remark, that the perceived, how we are perceiving government education, in the same way that my own understanding says that the people from the marginalized communities, the people from the rural communities, are a little bit somehow going away from the government schools and shifting to the private school. Recently the reports have also come. So what is the reason of shifting from the government to the private, is low cost private budget schools, and why it is happening? The first is, I think, I have found in my own research during MPhil and PhD, that the people are losing their faith in the government school. And it is also happening in Gwalior and Indore, where I have visited for the data collection. And the people are saying that one of the important remark that the parents are saying, that earlier you do not used to teach to the students, now you are showing them the TV. So the notion of the TV is that they are entertaining the students rather they are teaching to the students. So this is the perceived value of the teachers among parents. First, second is the how the teacher are perceiving technology integration in the classrooms. So suppose the teacher is teaching in the school for the 25 minutes on blackboard using the books. Now they have the remotes and the TV. So that's why we have to also encounter the perceive of the of the teachers, that first, that if the teacher will perceive that this technology has some importance and adding to their teaching output, then the teacher will introduce. So in most of the cases, what is happening? First, there is a deficit of electricity, mostly in the rural areas. Second, the teacher are not perceiving that it is not important, because they have n number of duties to cover, the elections due and different kinds of things. The teacher said that we do not have much time to go through this technology integration. First, what is happening when we do the classroom observation? We set for the the teacher has started the TV, he is going to take the class, the light has gone. Now we are waiting for 30 minutes, and then the light came again. He will run the TV for 5 minutes. The light has again gone. This is this is the scenario. This is the ground reality at the field. Even they have the inverter provided by the government or the NGOs. If the light is not there, the inverter is not going to work. And sometimes they have a pen drive issue. The pen drive, they get the content in the pen drive. The pen drive is lost. Many at places, the TV has been damaged. Many at places, the TV has been stolen, including gates and everything. Now, in one of the school, I will share that the teachers are keeping the television in the trunk with the double lock. So such kind of scenario, and it is the duty of the HM to keep this TV secure. So the security issue is concerned, massive electricity issue is there. So based on this, placing all these different challenges, and considering the teachers involvement in other matters, it is really a great challenge coming ahead, that how we are going. Recently, that even the government have started sending TVs to the government school. I have observed in Madhya Pradesh at least. So how we are going to cover these challenges, I'm placing these different kinds of challenges to the larger panel, for the more discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for highlighting the importance of perception, which is really present, which is orthodox, to say the least, in the rural areas, and also the importance of the peripherals for the transfer of education, which is a really important aspect which we kind of ignore when we look at the bigger picture. Now, I would like to introduce the next panelist on our roster, which is Mr. Shakti Singh Chauhan. Uh, Sir is a seasoned policy advocate and interventionist with about 15 years of leadership experience in the school and higher education sector. He hails from a rich and diverse academic background that includes an MBA in General Management from IBS Ahmedabad, an MA in Education from TISS Mumbai, and a Bachelor's in Commerce from DCAC Delhi University. Sir combines academic excellence with practical expertise and is currently contributing to the Higher and Technical Education Department of Maharashtra, where he plays a crucial role in implementing key initiatives outlined in the National Education Policy 2020. Previously, he was actively involved with the Rashtriya Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan, leading transformative efforts in Maharashtra and worked with the Big Four firms as well. He has also supported several bureaucrats in implementing significant policy reforms in the education sector. During his tenure at the Rashtriya Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan, he was responsible for establishing faculty development centers, capacity building programs for faculties, and cluster universities. Additionally, he was a founding member of entrepreneurship and skill hubs in Maharashtra. I would like to invite Sir to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Ayush, for a warm invitation, and I thank Sarkari Sul for inviting me. I'm very glad to be here amongst my esteemed fellow panelists, and I'm looking forward to hear from the panelists as well as the other people here. And I come here with the objective of learning as well as sharing what has been my learning as well during my tenure and working in education. So I have worked across the different domains of education. So, in from the initially years of my experience, I have worked in school education, where my work revolves around of in improving the student learning outcomes, capacity building of principals, district level officers, block level officers, and now in the last 8 to 10 years, I'm basically working in implementing the reforms, designing policies, assisting bureaucrats in setting up of Stuchatar Saksha Bihar and different policy structures in Maharashtra. So, to give a little glimpse of Maharashtra higher education landscapes. So I want to share that we have in Maharashtra more than 75 universities and 5,000 colleges and 34 lakhs students here. So currently we are working across in how we can efficiently and effectively implement national education policies. so which includes how we can focus on impacting a multidisciplinary education in the terms of improving curriculum, how we can form the accreditation, how we can improve the autonomy of the institution, how we can integrate internships in government departments and internships in universities and colleges. How can we integrate courses which are most future oriented? How we can connect it with uh, certain domains. It is not limited to arts. People cannot do a course in cybersecurity or artificial intelligence. How to build that ecosystem in a landscape in Maharashtra, and luckily through the implementation of national education policy, which is it has become more, I think, uh, able to integrate it uh, with a student-centric approach, and we are majorly focusing on how efficiently and effectively we can implement the objectives of national education policies in higher education of Maharashtra. So I would like to focus here only that to students, so that they should be more and more aware, because the coming 3 4 years, lot of reforms will be implemented and a lot of changes will happen in terms of curriculum, in terms of opportunities of like dual degree, simultaneously doing a twin degree programs. So I think it's a very important phase for students. So actually look forward for what kind of a changes our education system will bring, and I think it will be more better for the coming generation to be more equipped with the changing job scenarios which will be coming. So we are working towards how we can integrate industries. We can align the courses with a different industry. We time up with IBM, NASCOM, TCS, Infosys. So this kind of integration is happening in Department of Higher and Technical Education in Maharashtra, and we are thinking how more we can provide opportunities to our students in Maharashtra. So because you can see the large number of universities and students are also coming. So we're catering to 32 lakhs students is in a tough job, and when implementing a policy at the large scale level, and so that it reflect on each and every individual, whether it sits in Gadchiroli or Ratnagiri or a remote areas that I think Shadab was telling about the situations of MP schools. So similarly, that's the stories also about higher education in Maharashtra. There is a need to integrate far-flung colleges which are in the remotest part of location in Maharashtra, which is very diverse. So I think it's better times. A lot of change are happening, and we have to prepare ourselves and getting through feedback and listening to my young fellow specialists. Also, I can get lot to learn what is happening on the ground, and so that we can integrate at a policy level. So more and more students can be benefited. Through this platform, I can also share my email IDs if students or a policymaker or consultants want to contribute to the feedback in terms of Maharashtra or in terms of India across. I can actually get that feedback, and I can share that to the Ministry of Education as well as to the Department of Higher and Technical Education. And definitely, in terms of my capacity, in the last 15 years, we'll try to bring that reasonable feedback and integrate within our policy. So I would like to end here. Thank you so much for giving the opportunity. I'm looking forward for more interaction with my co-panelists.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chauhan. And it was really interesting to listen to you about the importance of multidisciplinary engagement in internship courses. Because as a social sciences student and researcher myself, I feel it's very important for us to engage with aspects like technology, AI, and ethics. So, thank you so much for that. And I would definitely like to engage with you on this more when we have the second and the third rounds of discussion. So now I would like to welcome our third guest, which is who is Miss Ishwarya Krishnan. She is a consultant on education reforms and has been instrumental in establishment of groundbreaking efforts towards supporting women entrepreneurs. She has been an alumnus of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar School of Specialized Excellence, School of Humanities, and she has also worked with the departments in the Delhi government. And her most significant contributions have been the launch of the Women Works program, which supports women entrepreneurs, and she was also a CMIE fellow. Her master's degree in gender studies and development allows her to conduct research and dialogue on the interactions between gender, the care economy, labor, and education, which are very pertinent policy matters as well. Her discussion and dedication to upholding evidence based policy making is a reflection for her love for building a more inclusive, diverse, and equitable society. So, with this, I would like to welcome Aishwarya, and I would like to really listen to you.
Thank you so much, Alankrita, and really honored to be here amongst other panelists. A quick brief round of introduction about me is that for past 1.5 years, I've been working with the education department of the Delhi government, spearheading and building Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Schools of Specialized Excellence. Before I tell everybody the story of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Schools of Specialized Excellence, I would want to quickly touch upon Delhi's approach to education and its early success. Now, the idea behind the early success for the government of Delhi and Delhi in itself is not the typical governance reform models where initiatives are designed and implemented by the leadership and tracked rigorously in the field. Um, the Delhi model in itself puts a lot of faith and power in the hands of its front line, which includes the HOSs, the teachers, the school management committee, the students, and the parents. It is one of the models, because I've been on the other side of the table, that deeply believes that once you excite and empower the frontline people, the frontline group, as I mentioned, you win over their loyalty and commitment, they will be the change makers that the system needs. So, to categorize the reform initiatives in Delhi, we have been able to put together 7 theories of change. Not of what, but how. First is to invest in building a compelling and a powerful shared vision, which not just the leadership has built, but the people on the ground, people like me and people in the school itself. Then the second one is to share power with those who are best placed to act. So from the leadership, it flows to the ground, to the grassroots. Second, third is to win the frontline commitment through respect, care, and dignity, to invite them to play a equal role and give them a voice, engage directly and deeply within the field. The sixth is to develop an outcome orientation, and seventh is to build a culture of celebration and recognition. Now, a little bit story about Ambedkar Schools of Specialized Excellence, a project that is very, deeply I am associated with, is that, as you all know, the current education system is a one standardized fit all system where there's a little scope for students who have an early awareness about interest in specific fields to pursue specialization of their choice. Additionally, the current education system puts little emphasis on aligning the curriculum and the assessment with higher education and industry requirements. Therefore, the schools of specialized excellence follows the 5 plus 3 plus 3 4 model. Here, it is specially categorized into the 4 model, where the schools are open for students from classes 9 to 12. And these are new set of schools that would create a hallmark in senior secondary education. To confirm and to reaffirm our belief in this particular, back in 2020, we conducted a survey amongst 3,200 students, out of which 79 students in grade 8th and 9th and 88% students in grade 11th and 12th affirmed or expressed their interest in the idea of early specialization in their subjects of interest. So in 2021, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Schools of Specialized Excellence were established by the government of Delhi. We started it with 12 schools initially. At the moment, we are 38 schools. The schools expand in five areas of specialization, which is STEM. The second is high end 21st century schools. The third is humanities. The fourth is performing and visual arts schools. And the fifth is armed forces preparatory schools. These schools specifically cater to students with domain based and aptitude based interest. The students give an examination when they are in class 8, and once clearing the examination they enter these schools, and a dedicated career pathway is introduced to these students while just not learning foundational subjects. They learn specialized subjects in each of the two subjects in each of the field that they do, right? So, for example, in humanities, if a child has entered schools of specialized excellence in humanities, they not just do math, English, Hindi, etc. They do two other specialized curriculum called World of Work and Systems and Societies. And a very interesting aspect of these schools are we have tapped into the expertise of various organizations, various members from the academia who have helped us develop this curriculum. We, amongst us, we already have Srijit, who has helped us build a curriculum called Systems and Societies in grade 9th and 10th. We have Shadab from CET. We have CET help us building World of Work curriculum from standard 9th to 12th. And we have Ashoka University developing curriculum in grade 11th and 12th. So the kind of expertise and the kind of organizations and universities from academia and otherwise who are participating with these schools of excellences, this is just for a humanities school. For performing and visual arts, we have Subhash Guy's Whistling Wood as one of the knowledge partners, Shishti Manipal Institute of Arts as another partner, and Global Music Institute. So we have, collaborated with extensive partners to build a curriculum which is holistic in 360 degrees while integrating other aspects of NEP, like technology, and a basic and a very drastic shift in not just the curriculum but the way the students are assessed. Back in the day when we used to get our report card, it used to be a 90 or a 100, and there was no feedback given to a student when they used to get their scores. What does 90 out of 100 means at the end of the day? And what suggestion would you give to a child who's got 50 out of 100 instead of saying thodi aur mehnat kar lo? That does not give a holistic picture of what and how the child has performed in the classroom. So taking these lessons from international curriculum and well within the Indian frameworks of education as well, there has been a drastic shift in our own assessment pedagogy at the Ambedkar Schools of Specialized Excellence, where students are assessed on multiple competencies for at the matter of the day. So child might be extremely good at knowledge and an understanding, that means retention of that knowledge, but that child might not be extremely good at critical analysis and evaluation of a subject. So at the end of the day, when the child is assessed on different competencies, you can actually tell the child what is the scope of improvement at the end of the day. And because of the NEP and because of the emphasis on formative assessment, it is a continuous learning. So learning not for assessment, learning for the joy of assessment is a drastic shift that what we've seen. Changes in these Ambedkar schools of specialized excellences. And like Shadab and Shakti sir also said that, a focus on vocational curriculum, focus on industry expertise. Our students are constantly working with industry experts and mentors to not just learn about the world of work, learn to work and learn for work, so that by the end of the day, when they graduate from these particular schools, they're not just well informed citizens of the world, but an empathetic citizens of the world. So that is it from my end. Would love to discuss more about the experiences from other panelists. Thank you so much, Alankrita.
Thank you so much, ma'am, uh, for highlighting two of the major issues which we had before, but it's slowly changing. The first one is the importance of dignity to the ground members. who are working, who are the actual facilitators of education. They are the primary source of the transfer of information to the students, and they thus need the respect and dignity as well as the support from the top stakeholders. The second is the importance of valuable feedback and a detailed feedback, which we lacked when we were students or were undergraduates. We didn't know what specialization we should do, or it mainly lacked in our curriculum. I feel it is slowly changing and it is for the good. Now, I would like to introduce the next panelist, who is Ashwarya Sharma. She is a PhD scholar at the National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, India, and holds an MPhil in education. Her research interests encompass comparative education, shadow education, educational technology, educational planning, and policy design. Contributed scholarly articles and book reviews in several news platforms and journals. She has also been invited as a speaker by international and national universities to share her insights on the Indian private tutoring industry. Recently, Ms. Sharma was awarded the Young Researchers Award for her work concerning shadow education at two conferences. She has received the British Association of International and Comparative Education and the Association of Asian Studies Accessibility Grant to present her work at the prestigious UKFIET 2023 conference and AAS 2023 conference. Ms. Sharma is also a recipient of the Baden-Württemberg Stipendium under the BWS project to visit Germany. Now I would like to invite her to say a few words.
Thank you for the introduction and thank you for calling me here. As I was listening to the other panelists, that was more of a field on what they have observed and everything. I would like to give it another perspective of a policy perspective, that what actually policy is saying and what policy is not saying. So, for my PhD, I am focusing on the informal education sector, that is private tutoring. And specifically, I am focusing on the role of technology and how technology as an instrument is advancing the sector, because we have been witnessing the growth of edtech and the shadow industry after the covid, and it is on boom right now. So how technology is actually advancing that sector. And now, because the theme of this conference says reimagining education in India, so the first discussion pointer that I would like to engage all of us with is that how are we approaching this theme? Are we actually looking at it in a holistic manner wherein we try to study the educational system as a whole? That includes private tutoring, and or are we still considering private tutoring as something which is outside school activity, independent of schooling, and more of a market phenomena? So my first question will be around this, that are our policies actually including private tutoring and taking an effort to actually building on something, building a framework to regulate it, or are we just recognizing the need that yes, it is there and we should do something for that? So taking an example from NEP 2020, the latest policy, the policy says that we have to reduce the syllabus because coaching centers are feeding on these anxiety. We have a larger syllabi, and therefore coaching centers are feeding on these anxiety of the students. They have to cover this, that, those. But are we actually aligning the reduced syllabi in the syllabi of the entrance exams as well? Because if we are not doing so, then we are actually widening the gap, and we are giving more scope to this coaching industry to develop and grow, right? So when we reimagine the future of education, it is important to consider this evolving nature of tutoring space, and we need to encourage research on it. We need to focus on how can we actually regulate the sector than to ban it, or just to recognize that yes, it's there. So that is the first need. And yeah, as Aishwarya mentioned, the Delhi government is doing a great job. Delhi government is also mapping the phenomena in Delhi. So this is the first time that government is taking a step ahead, and they are mapping the shadow education phenomena. First of all, as a researcher, or even if I want to make a policy further for this industry, I need data. and Delhi government is actually working on that data, right? So that is a good point, that is a good start. Secondly, I would like to talk about the better teaching methodologies and how they are enabling and empowering new generation learners. So if the policy envision learners as critical thinkers, as independent thinkers, as problem solvers, as ideal global citizens, so what it is actually doing to make enable that thing. And if the policy is saying that we need teachers because the teachers are the change agents, they are the change makers, so how are we actually supporting those teachers, how are we making them better pedagogues? So these will be my two focus areas. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya. And it was really reflective how you came at, shadow education, which is quite a contemporary and relevant phenomena when we consider how, pedagogical techniques or the administration of education is actually taking place. Plus, I really liked how you reflected on the fact that whether we are considering it as a merely commercial, I would say, advent, or be a good addendum to education and supplementing the needs of the students and the teachers as well. So, thank you so much for that. And I would like to engage with you further on this theme when we initiate the discussion session. So, for now, I would like to introduce the next speaker, who is Mr. Srijit Mukherjee. He has passionately pursued his twin interests in languages and education for over a decade. As an editor of bilingual dictionaries for Oxford University Press India, he has contributed to language scholarship in an immense capacity. He has also been a Fulbright scholar. He taught Hindi at the University of Montana and has co authored a Hindi reader for the University of California, Davis. Srijit has helped in developing a humanities subject for the government of NCT and has supported the SCRTs of Haryana, Assam, and Odisha in implementing foundational literacy and numeracy assessments. Currently, he is a language consultant with the University of Arizona. So, with this, I would like to welcome Mr. Mukherjee to share his views on the topic he prefers to address.
Right. So thank you so much. And well, first of all, I'd like to thank the We Citizens Foundation and the team at Sarkari School for organizing this discussion and having me here. So, as we all might have sort of realized by now, that the nation is in the Amrit Kal. And last December, the Prime Minister shared his vision that we would be, or at least try to be, a Viksit Bharat by 2047. Now, this probably has a lot of indicators and benchmarks, but a focus point in that would be the employable youth who would enter the workforce in and around 2047. Now, all of us sitting here in 2024, I imagine that a child gets 12 years of school education, does a 3 4 year graduation, and 2 years of masters. And assuming that the youth going through all of these levels of education and entering the workforce is about 22 to 23 years of age, right? And that is pretty much the number of years we have in the run up to 2047. So the child entering school today is actually going to be the person entering the workforce in 2047 and contributing to, or at least enjoying the benefits of being the Viksit Bharat citizen in 2047. So I think, therefore, that this conference is very timely. Now, one of the top indicators of being Viksit obviously would be an economic indicator. And let me just allude to the cliched phrase and, in some ways, the expectation of getting rich before getting old, right? And we all know that low skilled jobs like manufacturing and assembly, they lack ambition, imagination, and add less value than higher skilled jobs like R&D, sales, marketing, etc. And I come from Jamshedpur, where there are factories everywhere, and people are engaged in both these types of jobs, so I can actually vouch for this. So what I'm saying is that we should encourage more and more students to move into fields like research and other higher skilled jobs. And higher skilled jobs, of course, will have a higher pay. And if not, then we could also think of creating a pool for the discouraged unemployed youth by creating better work opportunities and creating work itself for those who are, on the fringes of poverty. Now, coming back to the point, I think one of the buzzwords in education is learning outcomes. And my very simple point is only this, that if students are able to achieve grade level learning outcomes, they will be able to get better work and live better and also get to contribute to the economy and thereby to the vision of Viksit Bharat. Hmm? So now the real question is, where do we begin? And the NEP 2020 suggests that we begin at the beginning. It lays a lot of emphasis on foundational literacy and numeracy skills, and in fact buckets the preschool years and grades 1 and 2 in the foundational bucket and grades 3 to 5 in the preparatory bucket. Now, here, grade 3 is very crucial. And we know through research that grade 3 is an inflection point for children because they are expected to read and write simple sentences and perform basic arithmetic. And the flip side is that children who do not gain these foundational skills will fall behind and have difficulty catching up later on. So the government has made this a national priority by including foundational literacy and numeracy (FLN) into the new education policy that we have, NEP 2020, and it has created the Nipun Bharat mission and asked the states to ensure that by grade 3 children are able to achieve the FLN skills. So there are different skills and different learning goals, or as the document calls it, different lakshyas for each grade level. With the grade 3 lakshyas being that by 2026-27, each grade 3 child should be able to read 60 words per minute with meaning and read numbers till 9,999 and solve simple multiplication. And I've worked with the states of Haryana and Orissa in creating and implementing large-scale assessments to assess this, as well as training, especially the Assam SCRT, on how formative assessments could be integrated into a system, so that we have checks and balances and periodic monitoring of whether these learning outcomes are being met. Right now, however, the evidence of improvement is not very compelling. And the ASER report 2022 shows that only 25.9% of grade 3 students are able to do grade 2 level subtraction, and only 20.5 of percent of grade 3 students are able to read grade 2 level text. So education and especially learning outcomes is pretty much of a wicked problem. That is to say that there is not one root cause, and so the proposed solution is also going to be multi-pronged in nature. So, firstly, we need to evaluate the student levels, and this should be continuous and low stakes. Formative assessments should be conducted through qualitative observation, and based on the performance of the child, a multitude of experiences and activities should be designed. So, what the recommendation is that the pedagogy is to be toy based or play based and done through storytelling and use technology. And NCERT has designed the Nishtha platform for teacher training. There is the Diksha platform and also ePathshala and all of these kind of platforms that come in. But the real challenge is that access to these platforms might be a bit limited. And last year there was a report by the Central Square Foundation, which where they took 6 states in India and checked on access of for technology, user sentiment around edtech adoption and edtech usage, and they found that 66% of students had shared access to smartphones and 6% of students had dedicated access to smartphones, but 28% of students had no smartphones. And even in the 72% students who did have smartphones, 50% had limited or intermittent connectivity. So the real point is that we should focus on bringing a kind of technology on board, and kind of democratizing the hardware and the internet factor. And also, again, like I said in the beginning, dig deeper at the earlier levels and kind of strengthen that system, so that we have a better outcome focus, we have a better economy by 2020, by 2047. So yeah, so that will be what I would want to talk about now. There's also other things that I would want to touch upon later on during the discussion, like the State School Standards Authority, etc. And there's also a talk of private schools versus public schools that is also interesting. So looking forward to that discussion. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. Uh, for introducing the challenges as well as how we can tackle. Uh, a great point which was highlighted by you was that the issues are multi-pronged, so the solutions should also be in that manner as well. The structural challenges are also one, and we are slowly getting there with the new policies. I would really like you to extend upon all of these points later in this conference. Now, I would like to introduce the next panelist, who is Kayali Day. She is a passionate researcher who focuses on educational equity through inclusivity and institutional efficiency. She has been an alumnus of Hindu College, University of Delhi, and Mount Carmel College in the Department of Applied Economics and Public Policy. Khyali's professional journey is characterized by a commitment to educational excellence and social impact. As a Teach for India Fellow, she played a vital role in cultivating collective leadership within classrooms and communities while also designing a bridge curriculum impacting students nationally. She was also affiliated with Teach for Nigeria, transitioning to Connecting Dreams Foundation as program manager for youth engagement. Kelly led the Global Changemaker Labs program, overseeing 80 plus social innovation projects, engaging 2,500 plus student leaders and impacting 3,75,000 lives in the slums of Delhi NCR. Simultaneously, as a learning facilitator at Clever Harvey, she focuses on entrepreneurship through interactive workshops. Currently, she serves as a program implementation and teaching coach at Exceed in Education, covering 50 plus schools in Northeast India, particularly Nagaland. Now, I would like to invite her to say a few words.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Ayush. Ayush, I'm truly honored to be here as a panelist for the Education Summit on Reimagining Education for the Future. And my sincere gratitude goes to Sarkari School and also the We Citizens Foundation for bringing us all together here to discuss this crucial conversation about the future of education. And the backdrop, particularly against which we gather, is marked by transformative shifts, none more significant than the changes catalyzed by the National Education Policy of 2020. And as we all have discussed again and again in the past 45 minutes, that this policy serves as a compass guiding us towards a more holistic and forward looking education system, one that particularly aligns seamlessly with the dynamic needs of our society and particularly our children. Before I go further and discuss about the technical things that this policy wishes to bring in the classrooms, I would like to narrate a story from the first week from when I stepped into the education sector, where I was conducting an assessment in a government school in the slums of Bangalore to check for grade level proficiency. And I saw seventh and eighth grade students struggling to read single and double syllable words. And there was a passage there that was a part of the assessment, which was particularly about the Arctic animals. And there was a question asking the students about the different kinds of bears and their favorites, to which a teen had answered that my favorite bear is teddy bear because it's cute. And as innocent as it was at that moment when I read it, it was also a satire for me, which prepared me for what to expect next, just stepping into the sector. And these examples from across classrooms in India are issues that come along with the traditional approach to teaching. The traditional approach to teaching is very limited, and students are not clear about what is being taught. Students just learn by listening to the teacher. It's a one way approach. And teachers also limit themselves to asking questions from what is given in the textbook. Students simply copy their answers from the board to the textbook, and they are also assessed based on their performance in the end of your exams. And there's nothing which particularly happens throughout. And as we reflect on the educational landscape, I'm particularly eager to share my insights on the educational shift prompted by NEP. This policy has set a stage for a comprehensive overhaul, emphasizing not only on academic excellence, but also holistic development, critical thinking, and skill acquisition in particular. And one of the pivotal aspects of NEP is its focus on a flexible and multidisciplinary curriculum. This is very similar to what I do at work currently at my present organization as well, where we have divided certain chapters or themes to different blocks. The blocks are further divided into objectives. The objectives have a specific aim or learning outcomes, like Srijit also mentioned, and these are all aligned in a progressional manner across grades, catering to the entrance exams that the students are going to take in the future. We also provide a competitive test by the end of the year, which is something that happens simultaneously with what the school might want to conduct for their students. And there we basically try to see how the different students are doing regionally, all across India and the different countries that we operate in, to see where a particular student stands. So it is further preparing them to sit or intake competitive exam. And in terms of our curriculum, we of course have a learning objective which is introduced to the students at the very beginning of each week or each period, followed by an action or activity that we bring forward to the students, where the teacher is not acting as a teacher but rather a facilitator who is just giving prompts to the students to sort of figure out the concepts on their own. So there might be different themes, different topics, but everything is built on a particular activity that the student might do either in pairs or groups or individually, depending on which subjects they are catering to. Followed by that, we move to analyzing the results that they found out, where we don't ask them what they found out from the activity they did, but rather we focus on the steps that they followed to come to a conclusion. And after that, we introduce them to a particular worksheet which has a combination of factual, inferential, and critical thinking questions which the students independently do. And then based on that, there are certain rubrics that we have decided upon to assess the students. We assess them on that and see at what particular stage are they at once the chapter is done. It could be approaching, it could be exceeding, or it could be something completely negative as well. So we follow these process for the all the blocks or all the chapters, all the subjects that we have included in our curriculum, to have a qualitative as well as quantitative approach or result to see where our students stand, so that we can also adapt our curriculum accordingly based on the needs of that particular region. And to enable this experiential approach, there are three core skills which are at the center of all the lesson plans that we have included in our curriculum or that we implement across classrooms. The first one being understanding. So skills like reading comprehension, reasoning, inferring, pattern recognition, these are all part of this very basic skill that we tend to ignore, which is understanding. Whatever I might speak as a teacher or whatever I wish my students to do, the students should firstly understand. If they're not understanding and if they're just in a hurry moving ahead to just do what the teacher is asking them to do, we might not get the results that we are expecting. And then we uh, you know urge our students to have a problem solving approach towards whatever the challenge might be. This includes skills like comparing, sorting, applying rules and laws, summarizing, predicting, estimating, etc. And towards the end, we have another skill, which is communication. The first two skills, of course, cannot happen if the students are not communicating with each other. We don't want it, like I mentioned earlier also, it shouldn't be a one-way transaction. We want the students to speak to the teachers, and simultaneously the students to talk to each other and discuss what they're finding out with each other as well, because they need to communicate to develop analytical and creative writing skills, to represent data visually, and also design and construct different formulas or arithmetic progressions that we want them to develop. So all these features actually contribute to experiential learning approach, and through that, students at the end, if we have to talk about the outcomes that are achieved, they have a clear understanding of the aim. They learn by doing things. Teachers and students engage in a discussion about the topic rather than it being a one-way process. Students apply their learning to different real-life context, and students are assessed in different ways and given feedback continuously so that they have adaptability as a core feature that they are developing since the very beginning. Furthermore, I think NEP also emphasizes on the integration of technology in education, acknowledging the pivotal role it have played since the pandemic was in place. And the pandemic accelerated our reliance on digital platforms, and the NEP recognizes this shift by encouraging the use of technology not only for remote learning but also as an integral part of classroom experience. So the way we deliver our curriculum is completely through technology. We have enabled tech in education by developing an app which caters to all the different lesson plans or curriculum practices that I just spoke about. So every block, every lesson plan, we make sure that anyone who has a smartphone has access to the curriculum in particular. These are, of course, our partner schools, and it becomes very easy for teachers to plan accordingly and make sure that there is no gap in terms of the vision that we have and the implementation that they are supposed to carry forward in class. Inclusive education is another cornerstone of NEP, promoting equitable access to quality education for all. And the emphasis on special education zones, vocational training, and initiatives to address the digital divide is a testament to policy commitment to inclusivity. Now, of course, when I speak about tech and I speak about all the different features that I just mentioned, it is just limited to people who can afford it. So our vision should be directed in a way so that it is something that becomes not exclusive but accessible to even government schools in remote areas for that matter. So that is the direction we should move forward towards. And as we engage in the discussion today, I'm eager to explore how these shifts are being translated into on ground efforts and what challenges are we facing in particular and how can we collectively address them. What this policy aims to do is the need of the hour, but the greater question here is, do we have efficient teacher training programs to equip our educators to implement these changes on scale while also enabling thought leadership? Additionally, I'm also keen to hear from all the panelists and the participants here on their perspectives and research regarding the implementation of these changes that we have just spoken about. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kiali. And I think that prospect of thought leadership in particular was one of the most defining, even though it was a conclusive feature. And I think we can pick it up and dissect it more in the discussion round, which is to follow immediately. Now that we are done with our keynote speeches, now I would invite all the panelists and would like to open the stage for further discussion and questions they might have from each other. You can also comment on the content of the speeches or ask about something which has stood out to you in particular. Because while the panelists will be engaging, I think we as moderators who were also active listeners throughout the session, we also felt that there were some pertinent queries and concerns to be raised while you were making your keynote speeches and addressing the content and the sub themes over here. Okay, yeah. So I think I would like to open the stage. If someone would like to initiate one of the question answer rounds, they are free to do that, and they can address the speaker in particular. They would like to, point the question to, so that we can move on with the session. Yeah. I think we can start with the last speaker, Kayali. If you have any other comments with regards to whatever the other speakers elaborated on, or any queries about the strategies they are adopting, or the kind of interventionist measures they are thinking of, then you can definitely either comment on it or raise a question about it.
All right. So I have, it's not particularly a question, but something that I worry about every day is we speak about so many changes, right, with respect to the curriculum. And There are, of course, training modules there, which the government teachers in particular are supposed to go through. But the thing that I worry about is how efficient would it be in practice? Are we creating a model for them to sort of enable them to have the thought leadership that I spoke about, which of course in exchange helps them create such lesson plans which caters to the policy in general?
So, anybody else would like to add to this comment and take the discussion forward? Because I feel that it's a very insightful observation there, Khayali.
So, in terms of, I would like to explain in terms of higher education. So, what Maharashtra did in capacity building of teachers, and Khayali is right that in implementation of national education policy, I think teachers will play a major role. And I think to build that capacity is very important to have at the policy level some kind of interventions. So what we did in Maharashtra, we have it's a pioneer initiative. So we have established our Maharashtra State Faculty Development Academy in Pune. So we have building a certain different themes in terms of interdisciplinary approaches, in terms of focusing capacity building on behavioral training, in terms of higher education, and there are a lot of domains. So we have tied up with different organizations, with industries as well as institutions also. So ISSR Pune, IIT Bombay, TCS, Infosys, NASCOM, and even private players are also invited, or either a smaller organizations. So there are different kinds of MOUs happening with them. So we realize the importance of training of faculty, because we know either to implement a curriculum, and it's very much difficult to introduce a curriculum in higher education system. You may be aware that there are a lot of modalities when you try to inculcate a curriculum, because when we were establishing a faculty development academy, and so we have collaborated with IITs and different industries for building a course on AI and cyber security. So then when we built it, took almost 1.5 years to implement that course in universities. By that time it became obsolete. So that's challenge is how in universities, because you are aware that the curriculum mandate is with the universities, then it has to be implemented in the affiliated colleges. So affiliated colleges cannot implement curriculum on their own. Only the autonomous colleges have given the domain of integrating that curriculum at their own level. So universities have a mandate of updating curriculum. So that's a challenge. So though we realize, so we can support through faculty development academy how our capacity building can be taken up for our faculties on different domains, so they can be more prepared of for future oriented courses in terms of pedagogy approach, how to teach that courses, and how technology can be integrated into that. So but unfortunately I'm trying to collaborate with I'm trying to fix, because technology in higher education is only limited of producing courses only. In terms of governance, in terms of other areas, there is few interventions have come up in India as of now. So even Vadhvani AI institution is working on school education, but we are also trying to figure it out how any other organization we can have, which can build up certain kinds in terms of teaching pedagogy, in terms of learning scientific approach, which is Khayali was talking about in school education. So this kind of initiatives like starting of a faculty development academy can be taken up at other, like Karnataka is now taking is followed up, and now they are also building on the similar level. So I think this kind of initiatives will help.
I would like
Yeah,
to
the
add. See,
yeah,
oh, all right.
Aishwarya, sure.
Okay, so the 60-page NEP policy 2020, when we think of implementing it, we have another document, that is National Curriculum Framework for School Education. That is a 600 plus pages document, and it has detailed layout of how teachers will be trained, how a new ITEP, like 4-year teacher integrated education program, what all will it have. And now we have also the document which is particularly based on ITEP and how it will be translated into practice, which universities, all the multidisciplinary universities like IITs, NITs, they will be, pursuing that course. And the CPD, that is continuous professional development, how we are actually looking at this. So the National Curriculum Framework for School Education, that is the document which we need to dig into.
So in higher education also recently in April they have come up with national curriculum for framework for higher education also, which is integrating school and higher education as well. So now we our in Maharashtra, I would like to add here, we will be going this coming year with 4 degree year program. So it's a new credit curriculum where fourth year will be basically devoted to research. So now, because we have formed a committee under the leadership of Dr. Mashelkar sir, and there are different committees formed under the recommendation what he told, and one of the recommendation of that is suggested with 4 year degree programs. So now it will be implemented, it is already implemented in universities PG level as well as autonomous colleges in Maharashtra. There are a lot of challenges it will come, so because it is not a easy thing when we do it on a scale level. So now we are implementing it in higher education from the 24 level, 24 25. So students will be having an option of 4 year degree program from now in Maharashtra.
I think what I would like to add here particularly is that professional development of teachers and teacher attrition is very closely linked.
Right,
And it's not like before NEP we did not have professional
right,
development of teachers. We did have, right? So
right,
what were we missing exactly? Because the cascading structure, the structure in itself was something that we did not pay much attention to, because most of our professional development for teachers was student facing, not teacher facing. And that is something that NEP 2020, and especially the school framework has done, that teacher facing capacity development is something we need to refocus on. That is where we need to motivate and reinvigorate our teachers to be a complete thought leaders in itself, within the system where they take charge. So not just they're given a very pedagogy driven teacher training, but at the end of the day they're given training where they become more empowered teachers at the end of the day. So this is where we were crucially lacking in these couple of years, and I think multiple governments across have taken that initiative where teachers are exposed to different training programs, be taken to foreign countries, being taken to IITs, and be taken to different institutes to instill that sort of capacity within them, to not just be more empowered within this classroom itself, but be empowered for the school as a unit itself. So I think that crucial change is what we've seen in NEP, and now the larger question is of implementation, because the implementation lies on the SCRT, right, which is the body that does most of the teacher training across the schools, right, and the major power of the political leadership on how to do an implementation. A state like Delhi is small to monitor. So the
right.
next question comes up of the implementation, because Shakti sir, a state like Madhya Pradesh and a Maharashtra is a big one. You have so many schools under FLN. Forget about senior secondary schools to monitor for a teacher
Right.
professional. How do we build master trainers within this
Correct.
particular structure to make sure that it lasts longer? So
So,
these are a couple of things that I always think about.
so Aishwarya, that's because the model is here also different. Na? Here the from 11th, 12th, they go to the junior colleges. So administrative level of challenges we have a lot of more in terms in Maharashtra implementing any policy reforms, catering to school, and so we are trying to fix. So two principal secretaries can sit together and can have a. So our principal secretary is very visionary, Vikas Chandra Stogi sir. So it also depends on the leadership how we are integrating at that level. You might understand you're working in an education department, so it also caters how leadership is there at even a school level headmasters or our bureaucrat level or even a university level vice chancellors. So I think a leadership level of a capacity building will also help to implementing reforms and policy.
Yeah. That's very true. And now I would like to invite some comments from Srijit as well as Shadab, because we would like to reflect on the larger phenomena. I think that while we have reflected enough on the importance of inclusivity and diversifying learning, I would like to personally raise a point about students with learning disorders. Because I feel that while we are talking about inclusivity and penetrating the reach of education policy, as well as these employing resources which make learning more collaborative and participative, what do you think can be a good measure to include these students with learning disabilities like dysgraphia, dyslexia, etc.? Because I think whenever we are going into the schemes of pedagogy, these are also the students who are actually left behind. In fact, their disorders go undetected, or maybe largely ignored, because maybe they are just holding back the pace of the class. So how can we make classroom a more inclusive environment for them? If I mean, any speaker is free to address this theme. I think Shadab has
I think
unmuted. So yes,
I think I recall one incident where I was doing a focus group discussion during my PhD fieldwork in slums of Patna, and so I didn't realize that one of the girl who was not able to speak, not able to hear, dumb and deaf basically. So I was totally not equipped enough to how we will I will navigate this focus group decision. I was not, I didn't want to exclude her because she was not able to, but I continuously I was having a contradiction that how I'm going to include her. So I observed that she was, there were children her right sitting and the left sitting, and she was continuously watching their friends both the sides. And she was trying because she is spending more times with their friends, so she know how they react, their body language, their behavior, and accordingly she was reflecting my questions based on the responses of the other peers. So my point is that ki in between, suppose in a village there is a one school, there is a one or two students are having such kind of problem, differently able students. So how we are going, because there is a it is the unfortunately evident that there is a lack of teachers in the government school. And even in Delhi, like there are counselors, for the 4, 5, 7 school there is one counselor. So we can't even imagine in the remote in other parts of India that how if there will be any teachers for this. But I'm totally I just wanted to share, but I'm totally clueless how we are going to do that, uh, include her in the larger educational perspective, because her struggle, their struggle is totally different from all the struggles that were recently talked as of now.
Yeah, that's very true, Shadab. And I think you touched upon a very important point of having equipped counselor access in such schools. Because I think this lack of strength really reflects on how the administration of these policy programs as well as the curriculum is going to happen, and how are these students going to take it in. So, drawing from that, I would like to elicit a comment from Srijit over here. If you can reflect on this.
No, yeah. So I think to my mind, it's got to do with defaults, and our default is that we develop a curriculum for people who do not have disabilities. So if
Exactly.
we kind of set that default to include people with disabilities and have a curriculum done that way, as well as build state capacity for delivery of that sort of curriculum as and when required, then I think it'll be more progressive and it'll be more inclusive in that sense. So that is basically my lens. And B is that the first thing is to identify and acknowledge that there are these students who need additional care. So once we are able to do that, once we are able to match up, and lot of data doesn't get recorded or get reported, so we must kind of firstly acknowledge that this is priority number one, that no child should be left behind, right? And to do that, you need to have data, you need to, and while enrolling students, schools may report or have a mechanism to report that at say a grade 3 class level, there are 5 such students who need additional help, and then the default kicks in right from there. rather than waiting ki, oh, maybe tomorrow I might have a child, so what do I do? Let's not bother about tomorrow, let's just focus on today, because well, now we don't have children with special needs in my class today. So I think that's basically my take on this, that to set a default where the default is inclusive. Right now the default is probably not as inclusive.
Very true, very true. And drawing from this tangent of inclusivity, I think one of the other pertinent matters which has emerged in the scheme of this discussion is diversifying the curriculum as well as making it accessible to a large section of people. Since your background is dealing with languages and diversity a lot, Srijit, and I personally have also worked in the arena of making tribal language, bringing it into the main discussion of education. So, what is your thought on that? I mean, what are the more achievable and practicable strategies so that we can, actually revive those languages and do not, let's say, isolate them at the cost of major administrative dialects or languages? How can we actually make or translate curriculums in those lesser known tongues?
So I think you shouldn't translate curricula. You should adapt
Hmm.
curricula, and their realities and lived experiences are much different than ours. Although they might be attending the same school, wearing the same uniform, back home they might have a very different experience. So I think a lot
Very
of research and focus should be done on their lived experience. And somebody was mentioning polar bears and stuff, right? So
true.
I think that is also a very pertinent example, that if a child has never experienced snow or ice and a polar bear, then it's tough for them to read or make sense of what they're reading. And if the objective is to read with meaning, so we can work hard and attain fluency, but comprehension is something that is tough to attain. And
Exactly.
it's the same way with tribal students also. So if a tribal child is doing a mainstream curriculum, so I mean, to look at it that way, the curriculum design and development itself, there is a politics within that. That from
Yes.
whose perspective are you designing the curriculum? A child in West Bengal listening to Rabindra Sangeet and going to school and studying about Tagore, versus a child who is working in the fields, kind of reaching his father's lunchbox in the farm and going to school and studying about Tagore. So you have these two or three agencies that are there. So you need to, at that level, you need to be more focused and more inclusive. And same way for languages, right? So you need to understand that you should not translate everything. What you need to do is
Hmm.
to adapt. And that is a key challenge, and sadly I don't see that there is a ready solution. But the good bit is that if we acknowledge this as a problem, we can come out with solutions which are more sort of inclusive that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very insightful comment on the same. And I would like to invite Miss Aishwarya Sharma to comment a little on this, because since your work deals with a lot of institutes in private coaching, tuitioning, and shadow education, I would like to ask you if, the challenges confronted by the mainstream schools or educational institutes are more or less the same that are confronted by these institutes who are administering and operating in the sphere of shadow education. And secondly, now that the adaptation of curriculum has emerged as a major point in my discussion and responses of Shriji to my question, how are shadow educations actually, catering to this challenge of making the curriculum more adaptive to the needs of the student?
All right. So, shadow education, the word shadow, right? So, whatever school, formal schooling is doing, the shadow industry is actually mimicking it, right? So
Hmm.
firstly, it was a phenomena that whatever the school is doing, whatever the school is offering, we will offer that. The same curriculum, the same everything would be same, just a little more upgraded, or just to make you to enter the entrance exams to get seats in the good colleges and everything. So that was the motive. But with the evolving nature of the shadow industry, it is actually overshadowing the school curriculum as well, because what we are getting in the school is not enough, right? It's not enough. And the anxiety, what you are learning, what we have all learned in our 11th or 12th, Was it the same that we were asked in our IIT or mains exam? No, that was not. So, what additional can we offer? So, from supplementing to supplanting, the industry is evolving, right? And the need is to actually, I would again and again focus on this, that we don't have to ban shadow education. It has its own positives as well, but we need to regulate it, and we need to regulate it from the core, that what actually it is offering, what gap it is fulfilling. Like I said, I gave the example that NEP is trying to reduce the syllabus. They have, and NCRT has also cut down the syllabus. But is it actually aligned with the questions that are asked in the entrance exam? Because if that is not, that gap is still existing, then it will only deepen on. The anxieties will be feeded on, and the industry will prosper, which we all are witnessing different angles. And now technology is also, entered into that space. So this is the, I would say, this is the creativity and the entrepreneurship of the stakeholders in shadow education area, that they are able to evolve, and they are able to maintain that need, that you need us. Yeah, formal schooling's there, but you need us. Why? They have several reasons. So we need to work on that aspect.
Okay, yeah, very true. And since you raised this point of technology, I would really like to direct this discussion towards Shakti sir, since he has worked extensively in this sphere. And I think the most pertinent instrument through which these shadow educational institutes are practicing what they are doing is through the provision of courses. So I think we need to really reflect on what the content of that course is, how effective it actually is in addressing that need, and if it is stimulating further thought on the subject, rather than just setting more achievable targets of clearing this and this exam, etc. So my question to Shakti sir would be that when innovating such courses, not just shadow educational institutes but also the regular educational institutes, what should be the redefined targets? I mean, I think we do need a bit of reorienting the compass towards a more effective and diverse learning environment, rather than just putting forth so and so targets. So what do you think that reorientation will require?
So can you come again? Reorientation towards you. You are asking a question towards how technology
Yes.
can be regulated, or at times of a scenario which is happening in private education could be regulated.
My question specifically dealt with the administration of these courses which are being offered, such as MOOCs and all. So, if you
So,
can reflect
so
on
I
that.
got it. Yeah. So what is happening right now, in my perspective, what I believe is there are a lot of private players coming in with a lot of courses. So it kind of and they are targeting the same USP, which they are saying that
Hmm.
we'll offer a skill, and there is need to impact analysis of our universities or education system, where we need to ask this question: do our courses doesn't have a skill, so we required a skill education online courses which is being offered by certain online platforms differently. So there is already a discussion going on within ministry as well as the department. So how do we regulate that? So do we come up with some kind of a regulation? So at least regulation study. So one of the examples I can share, that national level, this SWAM platform has been come up, which is the government of India. They promote, and there is no cost to it, and very 100,000 rupees of cost of evaluation for a course. That is also not feasible in my understanding, in terms of in Maharashtra we go to Gadchiroli, or when we discuss about the accessibility point of view. So now, as a policy reform, what we are trying to do is we are building similar platforms where on a cheaper or a financial level of a much leverage can be given to our students, and much can be aligned at the state level of requirement. So how curriculum can be designed. So at specific studying about the requirement of our students, our diverse perspective. तो गडचिरोली वाले students को क्या चाहिए होगा, what we do. So Srijit was referring to a very good example. He is referred कि उसको रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर पढ़ने की जरूरत है, या if we going to the field, what kind of a curriculum should be there. So studying that relevance towards so Maharashtra itself has a lot of diversity in itself. When you teach to a Mumbai, catering to specific Mumbai colleges, and when you go to a Ratnagiri or a Gadchiroli kind of students. So you will find a absolute different scenario in terms of. I must give a credit to people working in school education, because in higher education it's easy to teach a class of in first year or second year, but teaching third year third class students is very much difficult. So integrated curriculum at school level has a different I think challenges, whereas in higher education it involves a different challenge in terms of regulating online courses and bringing technology to it. So already, so I would like to refer that we need to impact analysis of our own education system of particular states, what is going on. We need to ask question कि skills नहीं है क्या हमारे courses में, or what kind of a integration is a requirement. So all is saying that we are producing these are the skill based courses which students can cater to, and they can get a job very much, and everybody is giving that kind of USP. But in my understanding, I have not seen students learning a particular course and getting placed in a better scenario in terms of. So I think it needs to be more regulated, and so uh, in the coming future, a digital university kind of a setup is also envisioned by Ministry of Education, similarly at state level. So particularly provide accessibility to the remotest uh, part of the states or in the country. So I think they are working on it, and I think the more positive outcomes will give. I think this is the age of implementing a lot of changes in higher or school education. I think we must try to be more student centric and yeah, get our expertise or capacity to build into this sincerely.
Very true, because I think your answer overall reflects on one of the core themes we were going to tackle in this conference, which is flowing from the teacher to the student. And I feel that now is also the time to bring into play the participants' questions from the panelists. And one of the questions from the Sarkari school team itself is, as we have speakers from various states' policy sectors, could you provide us with insights into the policies or methodologies implemented for integrating tribal languages into the learning process or curriculum? What efforts are the governments making to enhance tribal education? Moreover, what possibilities exist for reimagining an inclusive educational curriculum in India that encompasses these aspects? What are the states doing currently, if anyone has any pertinent insights to offer? So, I think that any speaker is free to tackle this question, and maybe we can take the question and answer phase from the participants forward with this first query. So, if anyone would like to tackle this, or would
So
you like to lead
short
the?
answer is that the short answer is that it's very tough, and the other short answer is that we need to focus on mother tongue education as well, right?
Right.
And what we looked at when we kind of conducted the FLN survey in Odisha is that the tribal districts performed a little lower than the state average and the other non-tribal districts. So at least the first step is that there is an indicator that, and I was mentioning the same in the previous point that I was making as well, is that there is an indicator that we need to focus and have adaptability and to the tribal child's lived realities when we are teaching them. So, if suppose there is a standard language in the state versus a dialect in the state, and the teaching is happening in the standard language, then it becomes tough for the child who's speaking perhaps that language only in the classroom, and outside of class, in his home environment, in his play environment, the language is different. So we have used some forensic data forensics to kind of come up with the districts that need these interventions, and it only is a matter of time when we'll act upon these interventions and probably devise a curriculum on that specific tribal language or tribal languages. So the intent is there. The evidence has also come up, is what I can say. and it's only a matter of now creating and implementing.
Okay, that's fair enough, and I would like to address
So
both.
I would like
Yeah.
to add here one thing only. So in terms of languages, teaching in mother tongue. So recently in Maharashtra, we have also done that evaluation would also be done in through mother tongues in Marathi, as well as our books can be translated and given into specific areas like our Gadchiroli universities has taken up these initiatives of translating books in terms of specific localization to the regional context, not in terms of particular transition into transition of the language, no, but keeping in mind the context to the students. So now slowly they are starting up for the inclusivity.
Okay, so I think that that's a fair enough answer because it also reflects on this aspect of adaptability. As you pointed out, translation into translation efforts, which is like very orthodox, has to be reoriented a little to the needs of the target audience, or who is going to just be the subject of that curriculum, and who is going to take it forward. So the next question is from Veerbhadra Sharma, who has joined us from YouTube. For someone to start and build something of scale in the education space in India, what could be the focus areas with opportunities, high demand, less penetration, and supply? I think this deals a lot more with the arena Ms. Aishwarya Sharma is also dealing with. So I would like her to begin or give her point on this question, and then we can take it forward if anyone else from the panel is willing to answer it.
Yeah, so the private tutoring industry is thriving because of all this only, because there is high demand, there is a supply, but what additional you bring in the space, what more you can give to the space, that is what makes a difference, and that is where edtechs are actually doing wonders. Edtechs are entering into the offline spaces. They are actually giving the hybrid model of tutoring now, that you can come for 2 days in the offline center, and for the rest of 4 days you can sit in your home and you can pursue your courses there and there. So what new are you bringing in the sector? That is where, yeah, you have to look for. That is your own creativity and on your own reading and resources, whatever you have. But for now, and as far as I am concerned with the private tutoring industry, technology is one thing, because the pre during COVID and after COVID, what we are witnessing is the technology, the role of technology and the narrative that technology is building, that technology, technology can answer everything, and every question, every solution is related to technology. So that what edtechs have taken up, and they are actually building on that. So it totally depends on what is your motive. If you want to just make profit and everything in the education space, that you can also come up, you can also collaborate, you can have franchise and everything of that sort. But if you want to actually give back to the society in some way, then you can think of building a collaboration with some social, with any organization that is actually working to give access and quality education to the underprivileged and the uh, students who cannot afford this kind of private tutoring institution. So that is up to you. What is your purpose and motive to enter the education space?
Okay, that's fair enough. Now there is a
I
specific question.
Alexis, I
Yeah,
think I'd add here.
yeah, yeah.
How I saw the question was how we do large scale educational initiatives or interventions in states, and what a lot of policymakers, and I think Shakti sir can attest here, is that we do an in-depth study or research or analysis as to what we are looking at it. And especially in education spaces post COVID, one of the biggest challenges was educational loss post
Yeah.
pandemic, right? And that was one statement that we had, right? And how the states adapted themselves to this intervention. And it's not more about high supply or less penetration. It was a challenge that we as Indian education system faced, and how we had to adapt ourselves to create such an intervention on the basis of our own needs. For example, in Tamil Nadu, there's an initiative called Illam Thedi Kalvi. It's a completely volunteer-driven initiative to tackle post-pandemic learning loss. And the beauty of that initiative is that you have all of these volunteers who pass through certain psychometric tests, and they teach students from first to eighth standard after the schooling hours, right? And it's completely voluntary driven program, and a complete different set of curriculum and assessment is formed, so that the child is pushed through and becomes of the grade appropriate level. So when we are designing at the term of intervention programs, there are multiple issue threes that we tackle out. For example, for curriculum, we need gender sensitive curriculum? How are we assessing the students, for that matter? The teacher training, different aspects to various largely intervention programs. And then we build out a hypothesis as to what do we want to see. For example, in an inclusive language education in India, for that matter, in certain tribal sectors, we want to see X and Y results, right? So then we go back to it, we start and pilot and test it out in few of our districts and see, oh, if the learning levels have drastically improved or not, and then we apply the same set of instruments in other parts of the area. And if not, what have we learned through it? So I think to implement any sort of educational intervention, and NEP 2020 in itself will start be implementing in phases, for that matter, be it in school education or be it in higher education, for that matter. So we try and test it out. So for example, for the board examination, for that matter, right? Like standard third, fifth, eighth, 10th standard would have board examinations. So how do we foresee in the next 5 years? Do we learn from that? Then we go back to that educational space and intervention, and then we redesign it. A good policymaker at the end of the day needs to redesign and relook at the policy and initiative to have a better outcome and a better result. So that is how I approach the entire question. Thanks, Anand.
So, so Alankitra, I will add
Okay.
only. I will take 1 minute only, and I'll add.
Sure,
If someone
sure.
wants to add in education sector in higher education, so I would invite him if someone have a solution with the AI, especially focus on any governance issue or focusing on student centric interventions. So there is a lot of opportunities. So you can enter it, but to going on a large scale level, you need to first identify you have data for that problem or not. So instead, whenever any solution, when you are going or implementing at a large scale level, you need to first understand and check the realities that you need to have data available with you in order to cater to a large scale implementation of any initiatives. To study first
Okay.
and then come up with that kind of solutions. Thank you.
Okay, so the next query. Actually, this was a very, I would say, immersive query on, reflecting on the metrics of what can be done, what should be done, and what is actually done. So this is like quite a immersive question. We have another query from the same viewer, Veerbhadra. He has asked this from Khyali. This is directed to you. How can we create a more cohesive and inclusive environment for the innovative new age schools being opened? This is from Veerbhadra. He has joined us from YouTube. Yeah.
All right, thank you for the question. So I think whenever we talk about any particular curriculum that goes to the market, it is made from the larger lens with very less scope for adaptability and changes that the instructor might want to incorporate in the times when they are delivering that particular curriculum. So I think when curriculum designers think of bringing it forward, they should also have spaces which gives the facilitator to sort of adapt and customize it based on their setting. And I think even within curriculums there could be different variations on how to deliver the same curriculum at different settings. So for example, if I am someone who is going to a classroom in Delhi, what should be my approach? If I'm someone who's going to a classroom, let's say in the remote areas of Nagaland or Arunachal Pradesh, so what are some things that I can skip? What are some things that I should include in terms of the regional observations I might have made in my ecosystem? If my students are catering to a particular strata of the society, what should be my approach? If my students are first generation learners, what should be my approach? So I think if these set of instructions can also be a part of the different curriculums that are present in the country at this moment, it could be more inclusive and it could show greater results.
True. So I think that was a very comprehensive answer to this query, which also reflects on the need of creating a very hospitable environment for those who are involved in the process of administering education. Now I would like to pass this moderation baton to Ayush, and I think you can read a couple of questions which are also reflecting the queries which a lot of viewers are having in their mind. Yeah. So I think you can start, Ayush.
Yeah. So we would be beginning with the second round of questions, which would be directed specifically to one of the panelists. The first is directed towards Shadab sir. Sir, does the future of tech integration in classrooms look bleak or better as of now? What are the possible ways to leverage technology and increase its penetration in the learning process?
Shadab,
Sir,
I
you're
think
on
you're
writing.
mute.
Sorry. So the
Yeah.
past 4 months, I have joined this project on technology integration in schools, and because most of the things I'm not going to discuss because it's a data for the future report, which will come in few months. But I think definitely that as far as I have concerned, and I have noticed that it is quite important. Definitely, the what are the biggest challenges in the education that we are trying to tackle? The first is the accessibility. That accessibility, as of now, it seems that there is a school in our neighborhood. Accessibility is somewhat approachable. The second is the enrollment. So the enrollment of the school is also happening, but at the same point of time, the children are also dropping out. It is not only in the pandemic that the massive children have dropped out from both public and private schools. It is continuously happening in the urban marginalized spaces in rural areas. Girls children are massively dropouts. And the third is the regular that the children are regular attending the schools. The register has the 40 students enrolled, but the classroom has only 20 students. The regular students are coming. So these three things are that we have to address. And the later to this, the girls children and the dropout and the regular attendance. And I think technology can play a very important role, but because there are lots of technology things are now. This Kelly was talking about that one way of communication that Paulo Freire talks about, banking system of education. There is no constructive. Children are not taken, children's agency is not taken into consideration. Children are not taken as the equal, knowledge producers. And children have their own experiences, and we all learn from our experiences. So definitely, this can be true. And then we're also talking about the context-wise education, like teddy bear and things like that. So definitely, we have this AI model or the technology where we can create very localized content in form of animation, in forms of storytelling. There are different diagrams. Suppose you are teaching to a student how the flower is growing, so you can take the children out of the class and you can show, and at the same point of time you can show how the flowers is growing in the 3D dimension on on the television or the smart tablets or things like that. So definitely it has a very promising future, and technology can help in reducing the dropping out, in increasing the attendance of the, but the problem are many. Like for instance, the children, the teachers now in Madhya Pradesh, the teachers were busy in state elections. Now the teachers are busy in, they will be busy in the Lok Sabha election. For the 6 months, the two teachers are there, three teachers are, one teachers are having the BLO duty. So for the 6 months, the teacher is not going to be in the school. For the infrastructure, like I was doing a one classroom observation sitting on the floor in the cold. For 40 minutes, it was tough for me to sit on the floor. So how can we imagine that the 10-year children will be sitting on the floor for the 4 5 hours? So the first we need to understand the basic, but definitely apart keeping all the things, all the challenges apart, definitely I think that technology can, fill this gap, and it can pull children from the children who are not interested their parents. And I think also one of the important is this when Unni Krishna was talking about school management committee. I think all the challenges that the schools are having in electricity and all, and the agency of the state, agency of the parents is very important, agency of the community is very important. Because I have observed the light is in the village, but the schools has no light for the past 2 months. So what is the problem? And these such kind of problems can be addressed when we take, agency, the dignity of, we recognize that the community and parents are equally important, and these, localized problems can also be sought out. So definitely, yeah, I'm in favor of this technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And sir, thank you for highlighting the infrastructural issues which we have currently. And in my opinion, separation of education sector from politics or from parliamentary issues like elections should be taken care of, because if the teachers who are mostly responsible for facilitating education is diverted towards politics or diverted towards elections, then there is a major economic loss as well, because we are basically delaying the transfer of education. Now, I would like Alankrita to take over for the next question.
Sure, sure. So the next question is from Shakti sir. The question is, what occupational opportunities does the present education system promise, and how can we insulate them better against the volatile nature of the contemporary job scenario?
I think with the advent of national education policy, the there are a lot of opportunities which will be coming up for our students. Like I've already mentioned, that focusing on multidisciplinary education and with the integrating of technology into education. So, like integrating internship into our education, which will provide a holistic set of exposure to our students. So, like we have institutionalized policies for internship in any UG programs. So, in the coming year, all the programs will have internship opportunities, and as well as internship opportunity with the government departments. So I think with the and another point is skilling. So while focusing on multidisciplinary education and skilling initiatives across domains, I think there is a possibility that in the coming future, our students will be more equipped to do a job role which is more industry inclined. And I think there is a potential in the coming time, so that our students are more prepared on it. I'll end with that.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. And for the next question, I think Ayush, you can read it out.
Yes. So the next question is for Ashwarya ma'am, Ashwarya Unikrishnan ma'am. What, according to you, will make curricula more emotionally sensitive and inclusive of contemporary concerns?
Thanks, Ayush. So I'll just explain this via an example that I often tell to my teachers and students back in the classroom as well. Is that, for example, we need to construct a new dam in a environmentally sensitive place, right? So, what all steps would be required to construct that dam? To do a land survey, to probably understand what kind of people are living in that place already, to evict people, what type of typography and geography is required to construct a dam for that matter, and who would cater, who would be the people the dam would cater to the needs, like in terms of electricity, job employment, etc. So the idea of giving this dam example is precisely is that it gives you 360 understanding of what an issue is, right? So not just the dam would cater to the many people with electricity and jobs for that matter, but it will also evict people from the land that it is already there. So to bringing these kind of contemporary and sensitive issues and emotionally charged issues into the classroom, one requires a set of emotional and mental education that is first being taught to teachers, and secondly that is deployed into curriculum for that matter, for the students irrespective of whatever state they come from. So for example, in Delhi, we have a beautiful curriculum designed called Delhi Through the Ages, and we designed and we made sure to construct this entire curriculum precisely so that the students understand the periphery where they are living in Delhi and its multiple challenges, its history, etc. So to bring in contemporary and emotional sensitivity into curriculum, which has always been there, is to also introduce them to critical thinking skills and introduce them to communication, so that at the end of the day we build not just a globalized citizen, but a citizen who is empathetic to the needs of the world. I would just like to give a very small example from one of our schools is that we have a Sark wall in a Dwarka school of ours, and naturally there's a Pakistan flag on the Sark wall as well. And initially, the students were quite agitated as to why do we have a Pakistani flag painted in one of our walls in schools, and um, so we did not immediately answer the questions of the students. They underwent a curriculum, underwent a unit called um, diversity and cooperation in South Asia. So by towards the end of the curriculum, we asked them to reflect on the multiple challenges and multiple issues that both the country faces. For the examples, be it environmental concerns for that matter, be it challenges related to terrorism for that matter. So to build that sort of empathy, to build that sort of connection between various aspects of the world, and not to see any issue through one's lens, requires a lot of curriculum building, which is sensitive, and which also sensitizes the teacher on how to deliver the curriculum. So it's both not just student facing, but it's teacher facing as well. So yeah, thank you.
A very insightful answer on how to actually stimulate that kind of empathy and I would say the spirit of fraternity. All our international organizations as well as the land's constitution recommends. So thank you so much, Aishwarya, for this. And the next question is directed to Aishwarya Sharma. The question is, what role can better teaching methodology and technology play in enabling and empowering new generation learners? How can parents and community members be included in these efforts?
All right. So, when we talk about better teaching methodology, so what do we understand by that? First of all, the question, we should think a lot upon this thing, that better teaching methodology, that is basically pedagogy, right? But engaging in effective pedagogy, what we are asking for. So, when NEP focuses on making better pedagogues, right? And when the policy gets translated into the NCFSE, National Curriculum Framework for School Education, the key focus for the whole document is with the perspective of teacher, taking teacher as the change agent, as the implementer, as the practitioner, right? So the focus is on the teacher, and how do we prepare better teachers? The we have already discussed that the course ITEP and CDP and everything of that sort which were going on, we already had a very progressive program, that is BLED, and I have graduated from a very good college of Delhi University as a BLADN, and I know that I have been, equipped with certain skills that I was using in my course when I was delivering lectures and everything. So we need courses, we need progressive courses like BLED, like ITEP, so that we can be better pedagogues. Now, what NCFSE has done is that they have NEP has restructured the whole system, the education system. They follow the 5+3+3+4 stage, and fifth, the major portion is the foundation stage, and we also have another framework which is very unique, that is focusing on the foundational stage only, the ECC and the classes 1 2 3. So that is the curriculum framework for that particular foundation stage, and the pedagogy which we need at that time is that more that should be more of hands-on, play based, because the age group is like that. When we move on to the preparatory stage, that is third, fourth and fifth classes, there the pedagogy becomes activity based, discovery based pedagogy, and different subjects there, the role of language and certain grasp of social sciences that comes into the picture. The middle stage, the discussion and the pedagogy moves towards abstract concepts, right? So we need to have pedagogy that is actually keeping a balance between direct instruction and opportunities for exploration. So, individualized learning with collaborative learning and direct instruction. We need scaffolding at that stage a lot. And then we are working on the cognitive abilities. We are making critical citizens. We are building global citizens. So, we need to focus on that as well. Then, in the secondary stage, we have a very diverse, a very different, unique model now, which focuses on multidisciplinary study, which is taking into consideration the life aspiration of students, and we are giving them the choices that there would be no hard separation between sciences or social sciences, vocational arts, and stuff like that. So at that level, we need pedagogues, those who are actually uh, able to realize the potential of the students, what the students are capable of doing, and actually guiding them towards that. So I feel that this would be it, and we have already talked a lot about the role of community and technology. So that would be just an add-on.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for highlighting and giving suggestions. Uh, Now, the next question is directed towards Srijit sir. In the context of decentralizing education and empowering teachers and students with agency, what concrete efforts are undertaken to extend the collaborative space beyond policy-making circles, creating a more participatory environment for the educational community?
So I think there's two parts to the question, and the NEP suggests decentralization, where the policy making is done by the Department of School Education. The provision and operations are handled by the Directorate of School Education at the state level through DOs, BOs, etc. And self-regulation and accreditation is again kind of going to be done by the SSSA or the State School Standards Authority. And academic standards, and we talked about contextualization. So academic standards will again be contextualized by the respective SCRTs. So there is this, and decentralization is not a new idea, right? But at least the NEP brings it out, and it's a new idea for education, and this is the first time that we are going to do it. And the SCRTs, to go one step further, they are also in charge of developing a school quality assessment and accreditation framework, or the SQAF, right? And there will be guidelines and parameters for school accreditation, and this will, I think, close in the gap of something that Shada was pointing out, of a public school versus a private school. And that is a very interesting sort of public figure that a lot of people look at, and the Delhi government was also looking at that kind of a figure, that during the pandemic, a lot of people moved from the public private schools into the public schools, but but now they have kind of the enrollment has gone a little down for the public schools. But I mean, that's one part of the answer. But the larger question again, and it's been talked about, is the school management committees, and to have different sort of stakeholders come into the school management committee. So you have like a sarpanch of the village, you have parents, you have head teachers, teacher representatives, somebody of from the government, a local authority representative, and probably also sometimes Anganwadi workers also. So and what they essentially do is that they look at the implementation and school development through a holistic lens, like starting from financial management and utilization of funds to infrastructure development, admissions, attendance. And attendance is very sort of key now, and I think Shadab also pointed it out, and it's really important that we have the GER, the gross enrollment ratio, and all that is fine, but enrollment is something and attendance is quite something else. So that is there, and also the quality of education. So I think if you have a body overseeing all of these things, then uh, you know it's good. It gives some independent monitoring opportunities. And of course, with all of these stakeholders, what really is true is that it takes a village to raise the child, and so you have all of these educators, parents, and different stakeholders coming in. So that's really important.
Okay, Ayush, I think that post this reflective answer, we can also entertain a question from, the team for Khayali.
Yeah. So the question which is directed to us, Khayali, is as an educator, what are your first-hand observations with NEP, and how far do you think it is inclusive of regional culture in curriculum structures?
Thank you for the question, Ayush. So, as per my observation, the NEP reveals both promising and what promising aspect as well as challenges in terms of inclusivity of regional culture in curriculum structures. So some of the promising aspects of course is the multilingual and integration of regional languages into the curriculum. The NEP emphasizes and aims to ensure proficiency in regional languages, and this is of course a positive step towards preserving and promoting linguistic diversity in the country. Apart from that, there is also cultural integration, and the policy encourages the integration of local and regional culture into the curriculum to make education more relatable and meaningful for the students across different states. And it also recognizes the importance of contextualizing the learning experience that we wish to create for the children. There's, of course, flexibility in the curriculum design, which allows states and regions to adapt and include local content, which can better resonate with the lived experiences of the students that they are catering to. If I have to speak about challenges in particular, there are, of course, implementation disparities, which I also spoke about in the beginning. While the NEP outlines inclusive measures, the actual implementation may actually vary across regions in terms of the capability and the training provided to our educators, because educators are Ashwarya also mentioned, they are central to this policy or the shift that we are trying to bring. And some areas might face challenges in incorporating local culture due to resource constraint or varying interpretation of the policies as well. For example, if I am to take an example of a northeast state, if you spoke about the culture there, even in a particular area, they are catering to 6 or 7 different kinds of tribes who are sort of polarized in terms of their opinions and practices. So how do I make that? Do I make a conscious choice to address all of it, or do I skip it altogether, just limiting myself to what the mainstream India would receive in terms of what we have to offer, right? Apart from that, there is also standardization versus regional variation. There is a delicate balance needed between standardized national education goals, like I mentioned with the help of my example, and the need for the regional variation. What are some things that we include? How can we include it? And how can we make the process smooth and transparent for different regions to follow or set an example, like something which is a best practice that others can learn from. And striking this balance is crucial to ensure that the curriculum is both inclusive and aligned with the diverse cultural fabric of the country. So that polarization shift that I spoke about, that has to be consciously made from the designers who are there in the policy. And apart from that, teacher training and resources, educators may require additional training and resources effectively to integrate the regional culture into their teaching practices as well, right? We might tell them that you have the autonomy to do so, you have the flexibility to do so, but are they well equipped to sort of move in that direction, so that it doesn't seem like something which is not in sync with what they are doing on a day-to-day basis? So just the proficiency in pedagogy and how to sort of deliver it in a non-polarized way is another question in place.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kayali, for that very thoughtful and I would say well put out answer. And with this, we move towards the end of the session. And the very last leg of this discussion will include me approaching the participant for a very short 30-second take on the proceedings of this conference, as well as what is a very important takeaway you are gathering from this summit today. So I would first like to approach Mr. Shadab Anis. So Shadab, a very quick take on a major takeaway you found that was very insightful in this educational summit.
I think one of the important takeaways that we have talked about inclusive learning, that is very very important. Even in terms of we think that we consider a community not only tribal or in other, but there are different kinds of communities living together in a multilingual multicultural society. So I think it's very important. And the second important is that we have strongly discussed the different stakeholders, and teachers and the community and the parents are one of them, that we generally top to down approach, we not consider them important stakeholders. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shada. And Shakti sir, if you would like to provide a very brief take on the takeaways from this conference.
I think I'm. Thank you for first of all for inviting me to a very thoughtful kind of a panelist here. I was amazed to each and everyone's point of view. They were very articulate and to the point. So it was coming from the ground, the kind of a learning side. When even Shada was speaking, Shridi was, Yashwarya, Naipa, Nupa. I'm actually some way associated with everyone around. I don't know because I'm a very connection with Nupa. I worked along with them. I worked with Delhi government also. So I worked with school education also. So a kind of each one has mentioned. So I was very impressed with this Dr. Ambedkar schools, specialized schools in Delhi. I would like to know more how they have done it with. I think they have initiated it with IB, and they partnered with IB and they have implemented it. So this kind of a special initiatives and a kind of a key insight like Shada was bringing it out is what's happening at school level, at the ground level. There are a lot of challenges, and at the similar challenges was there when I was working in school level also. So when everyone was saying कि seventh standard के बच्चे को पढ़ना लिखना नहीं आ रहा है, so when in 2009 and 10 we were going into very remote parts in Jhunjhunu districts, in Ramtar Sablania sir schools also. So that kind of a challenges was there, and it will be there. So we are reducing at that point of a life. So I think after national education policy, there is opportunity for all of us to contribute more, and each of one has coming with a very diverse and very good experience. I think they should contribute more at the policy levels, and they will should be in touch with a kind of I think from their voluntary level they should keep writing to ministries and departments. I know somewhere people like us has coming from the ground. I'm very unfortunate to say that there is very less people who has worked on the ground coming to the policy levels, especially in higher education. So listening to that experience will help in forming policy. The outcome and the kind of a benefit it goes to the student, and the policy should be made of the student centric. So thank you very much, Kalin, and each and every one you. And I'm very much happy to listen to everyone's points. I've noted down some of them. If you possible, I can share with all of us, and if the recording is available, so it can be shared with me, so it will help me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. And next, I would like to approach Miss Uni Krishnan for a comment.
Thank you so much, Alankrita. I think what I'm really happy is that education is the center stage of discussion here, not just amongst ourselves, well, within India itself, but it's getting the needed attention that it required for past so many years. So very happy that a set of dedicated people, youth like you and everybody back at Sanskari School, is has envisioned such a platform to bring all of us together and have these discussions. Really privileged to be here. Really honored to hear from other speakers across from their different backgrounds and different practices, and what they're trying to envision for the Indian education system. Likely and rightly put so, reimagine education. I think we've taken some of the steps back at work. I think from today onwards, listening to fellow speakers, we're once again going to reimagine it in our own work again. So thank you so much for having me, and bringing all of us together to say that these are a couple of small steps that we take in. I think all of us together coming here, we will have our own exchange of ideas with Khayali, Shakti sir, Aishwarya, Shrijit, and I think we will also come up with something new to tell you next time. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And now over to Miss Sharma for a very brief comment.
Yeah, so as I was listening to everyone, I couldn't stop myself, but I recalled I attended one of the conferences, which was, uh, they were sharing the work of India and British, sorry, UK and India partnership and everything. And there in the valedictory session, the British High Commissioner to India, he said that India is actually undergoing a transformation in every sphere, and he is excited to see India after 25 years, right? Because India is growing at a speed, and we have such passionate leaders. I can see the panelists here. We all are talking about education so passionately, so dedicatedly, and we have policies which are actually trying to bring some change. And change comes from within, so we are actually building that change in the education sector. So that is all. I am taking the ground because I've been in the field, but because I'm now studying, so I've not been in the field exactly. So these ground root experiences and grassroots experiences and the difficulties, they are so new to me because yeah, I have to start my data collection and everything, so I will come across this all of a sudden now. But yeah, that was amazing, and that was my takeaway.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Sharma. And now over to Mr. Mukherjee. Would you like to provide a brief comment on this?
Yeah, no, I think one of the things that really struck me is that everybody's honest, and everybody's honest about the right thing. That it's tough. Implementation is probably not happening at the scale that we'd imagined, and yet everybody's persisting and trying to make that change happen. So I think we are not, a bunch of people who are complaining. We are not a bunch of people who are, self-loathing and self-glorifying, not doing either. But we are kind of aware of the changes that we can bring and we need to bring. So that is something that is very important. The second thing, of course, is the diversity of the panel. It's not just stuck to higher education, or not just stuck to shadow education, or just stuck to school education. So I think kudos to you guys for having a diverse panel and a more inclusive panel to discuss about the education and the opportunities that are kind of presented by NEP 2020 and beyond, because this is really the crux. And like you said, that if you're focusing on 2047, then education, and education right now is very crucial for us to see that 2047 vision. So thanks everyone, and thank you to the organizing team. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mukherjee. And now over to Khayali for her final comment on this.
Thank you, Alankrita. I think for me, I've been working on ground since a long time now and doing certain things, but I think it was very difficult for me to sort of look at the bigger picture and connect what I might observe or I might find to the policy level. So I think it was great having such a diverse panel, and I think this also helps us connect with each other, network with each other further, and discuss what we particularly do in detail, and think about certain things that could be implemented on ground or that could be taken forward as suggestions to the board to actually see all the changes that we talk about come into practice in the years to come.
Thank you so much, Khayali. And with this, we draw to the very end of the session. While I think that this issue prompts more and more dialogue, and as much as we would like to engage more with each other, I think that it's quite a very comprehensive end to a very enriching session. And I would like to just lay out a few things that we are aspiring to do after this, immediately after this, as a conclusion to this conference. That we are going to collate all these insights into a very coherent and lucid vision document, which will be available for public perusal, as well as we'll be opening it for a lot of suggestions, because I feel that while we were engaging the queries, there were a lot of questions which were remaining unaddressed because of the time limitation. And maybe we can provide the contact details of the organization as well as the resource persons as we have them. If you are comfortable sharing that, we can definitely share those details in that vision document, so that people can approach you with their queries as well as inputs into whatever you are doing on the ground. So, with this, I would like to deliver the vote of thanks at the behalf of Sarkari School and We Citizens Foundation. I hope that we continue to conduct such experiences and such experiential meetings, so that we are able to form a very talented pool, and we are able to bring that pool together to initiate very important dialogue with respect to educational policy and how can we go on with a very comprehensive implementation of it. So, with this, I would like to extend my deep, heartfelt thanks to every panelist over here, as well as my co moderator Ayush, for driving this session very seamlessly and without any abrupt ruptures, which is perhaps the most important part of the session, that we kept it going. So, thank you so much, everyone. And I hope that we meet for further such initiatives as well as summits, because we will be conducting a lot of them. We also aspire to conduct a paper presentation event for this. So, if you're available to provide your comments on it or even participate in it as a judge or someone in a very commentary capacity, so please do inform us, do reach out to us, and we'll be happy to get back to you and associate with you for such events. So, with this, I would like to close the session. And it goes out without saying that I think the session was a success mainly because of the speakers' engagement as well as the attendees who were watching it, who constantly provided their encouragement through the comments. A lot of them were coming in and they provided a lot of positive perspective and inputs to that. So over to Sri Lakshmi, who is like a very dear friend and colleague. So she can close the session.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alankrita. I think we've had a very enriching session today. Hi, everyone. I'm Sri Lakshmi. I'm the team lead and of policy advocacy team, and we're very thankful to all of you for participating in this discussion. And like all of you just said, our team has taken up a lot of effort to arrange this diverse panel, and I hope that all of you had a great time interacting with each other. And like the questions that came up, some of them were really invigorating, and we'll compile everything together. Like Alankrita just said, we are in the process of that. We'll come up with a vision document, and like Shakti sir mentioned in the beginning of the session, we would also like to contribute to some of the policies advocated by the government, and also we'll be collaborating with him also So yeah, so just like Alankrita has just concluded the session, lastly, I would just like to say one thing. If you can share the feedback and the document with your network and bringing more policy suggestions, it would be like useful for all of us, and like it would really contribute to the ultimate aim of this conference. So thank you everyone for joining. I would like to extend another thanks to our founder and Abhishek sir and all of the team members like who have coordinated this event. Alankrita and Ayush have done a terrific job in moderating this event. Thank you so much. And thank you for your patience. Thank you for not switching off the camera or like not even drinking an ounce of water. So thank you for the consistency. So yeah, and also thanks to all teachers and government school uh, people working in the sector with us for over a period of 5 years who've joined this through Facebook. थैंक यू ऑल आप सबका बहुत ज़्यादा धन्यवाद एंड मैं भी अभिषेक सर की तरफ से सबकी धन्यवाद करती हूँ कि आपने इस लंबे सेशन को आराम से सुना एंड आई होप दैट दिस ब्रिंग्स चेंज and yeah, like we just discussed, we are slowly and steadily progressing. Let's not be very unrealistic. So yeah, so I hope all of us together can reimagine a good education for India in future. So yeah, I'll be closing the live now. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Alankrita and Ayush.